Happy Tuesday. I am very excited because we are talking about a project that is definitely pushing the envelope on how we provide care for older adults while keeping it affordable. And we always talk about that middle market. And today we've got a guest, Mr. Peter Hynes of Urbitecture, combining urban and architecture, who's going to dive deep in the project they've been creating in Denver, Colorado, in the Mount Bello neighborhood. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Miss Catherine Wells.
Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. It is gorgeous here in Colorado. I hope it's gorgeous wherever you are. If you're listening in, please feel free to post some comments and we'll make sure that we get your questions answered, and tell us what's going on in your community too. We want to hear about that. So today we're talking with Peter Hynes, and pretty excited to hear about a new community that is opening here in Denver called Open Arms. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Kathy.
You bet. So tell our audience, what is Open Arms?
So Open Arms Assisted Living is a brand that has come out of the integration of the St. Andrew Lutheran Church here in Denver and the repurposing of the St. Andrew Lutheran Church's elementary school. So we worked with the community to develop the brand Open Arms, and that brand is a standalone nonprofit, but it's wholly integrated with the St. Andrew Lutheran Church.
And you took, just to be clear for our audience, you took an existing property with the church on it and you renovated it, correct? And added to it?
Yeah, there was a whole laundry list of what we had to do, which included rezoning the property, doing a full asbestos abatement to the existing school. And while all that's going on, we kept the church fully operating and active during the whole process. In fact, there's 4 congregations that use the church. So we kept them all working, kept them all going active, and kept the whole thing operational while we did the hazardous material abatement and then repurposed the school and then added another 6,500 square feet of new construction.
Wow, that's quite an undertaking. So, let me ask you this: with that type of undertaking, what is your background? Because obviously, this is not your first project in any way, shape, or form, because that's a lot to take on. So, can you give us a little bit about your background, how you're using your expertise to make this awesome project come to life?
Sure. I'm a licensed architect, and I've been a licensed architect for going on 15 years. And I grew up in the development and architecture industry, really. My father was in pharmaceuticals, but my best friend's dad was a developer in real estate in New Jersey. So I've been tinkering around buildings for as long as I've really been alive. So we added the architecture aspect to the construction aspect. And I've been working in telehealth on how to integrate that into long-term care facilities for about 10 years now. So we were able to bring in that technological aspect. And I also chair a community development financial institution. So I understood the finance aspects of affordable housing to an extent. So I also was one of the board guys that ran City Park Ave in Denver here for 5 years. So I've been in the industry quite a bit. So taking all those experiences and rolling them together really culminated in this project.
That's awesome.
So Peter, tell our audience what motivated you to do this. This is a really big undertaking, and you had to mobilize a lot of people to make this happen.
Well, the people, at the end of the day, it's the people that motivated me. St. Andrew Lutheran Church came to me and said, our school is empty. It's been empty for 6 years. What do we do with it? And I sat down with the church leadership and we had long discussions about what their goals were, what their mission was, and really how we were going to keep their church in the community because the school is empty. And they're not property managers, they're spiritual managers. So my effort was really to work with the church and first and foremost keep them here, and secondly create a mission-based revenue stream that they could all benefit from. And that's really what motivated me to do it, was how do we keep the church in the community? How do we repurpose an old building? How do we do it sustainably? And then how do we meet the needs of the community here in Mount Bello at a price point and a caregiving program that they needed. So we rolled all of those factors together into the same equation, and then you just figure it out from there.
You make it sound easy. Just figure it out.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here and I'm just thinking about all the different pieces you're moving with system building and trying to keep the church open and adding on, and then really, it sounds like before we got on the show, you were really talking about some of the tech that you were putting in the building. Can you elaborate? Because I'm fascinated by two things. One, the way that some forward thinkers are using tech to their advantage, and then also how us in kind of the aging services, we seem to be tech apprehensive when it comes to certain things. So I'd love to learn more about the technology that you've installed in the Open Arms Assisted Living.
Sure. So outside the box is my MO when it comes down to it. When we got into this project, which was about 5 years ago now, I had already spent about 5 years working to integrate telehealth as a functional component into the infrastructure of facilities. Mm-hmm. So, and this one I was actually able to do it. So we have telehealth that is bedside for remote patient monitoring, so bedside telehealth, and then we have a hub. So if you think about the rooms as a hub and spoke, we have a hub that's more diagnostic and sort of expanded from its exam basis. So telehealth is throughout the whole building. It's all smart TV'd, so we have a full wireless mesh system that you can tap into. So there's no cable boxes for TVs. There's no phone lines. It's all VoIP. So wow. It's a fully integrated wireless system that runs through a fiber optic network that we have directly into the facility. So that's our telehealth system. Our lighting system is wireless. So the wireless activities are really, they work well with the sensors. So the sensors are basically throughout the facility. So we should have very, very low energy bills because we can program, what spaces are going to go on and off at any given time, and we can dim them, remotely. Our hot water situation, it's all app based, so we can control hot waters if we need to. If it gets too hot, we can turn it down.
That's so
we can
cool.
maintain it that way. All of our property lighting is LED. So our pole lighting, none of it's on the fluorescent or the incandescent spectrum.
Okay.
So it's all kind of low energy consumptions. And then our mechanics, each bedroom has its own through-wall units that operate on an auto basis. So as someone gets hot or cold, we can shut them off or turn them on basically the same way.
Wow.
So we've integrated as much wireless controls as we can. App-based washers and dryers, kitchen appliances that are all kind of app-based as well.
That's so cool.
Dishwashers from across the building.
So we find in this industry that oftentimes, as Francis said, there might be some tech apprehension, and much of that has to do, I think, sometimes with the fact that there isn't good wireless, and that can inhibit, and it takes something to go, redo all of that, and you have to have the right, partners to help you do that. You guys have built it from the ground up with fiber optics. That is so cool. And you have outfitted with technology. And I think too, I sometimes hear people say too much tech is not a good thing. It removes the personal touch. And I think what you've just described is that the technology aids in giving you more time for the personal touch, because it takes care of all those things that you would otherwise be spending time on. And it helps connect the residents with doctors or nurses or clinicians through telehealth when they maybe can't get out. So I just hear all kinds of ways in what you described that you've created an environment where people can be more hands-on, more in touch, and more providing care. Was that what you were going for?
Yeah, Kathy, you make me feel a little bit pretty good because I've articulated okay then. Because it really is, it's meant to be invisible unless you're actually using a piece of equipment, and then that is really personal.
Right.
It's not in your face.
Yeah.
But you're interfacing with it.
Peter, I love it. I love it not only for the fact of what you're doing from a time saving, but an energy and cost saving. So that's additional funds that you can either give better cost savings to your residents, do things different with staff. When you free up those kind of lost or those sunk costs, right, in electricity, in utilities, it's hard to recoup those. But it sounds like your plan is essentially a cost saving metric as well too, from your fixed costs, like we're used to electrical and water. And so I do have to have a question. Did you guys do anything with solar? Because I'm just curious about that at all.
We tried. I think if we had a bigger footprint, more roof surface, we could have done something with solar, but we're not big enough.
Yeah, that's why I'm still waiting for the day when solar cells get a little more efficient, so you can get a little better bang for your buck.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're
getting there. So Peter, tell us, who do you serve at this community? What is the ideal makeup of the residents?
Yeah, so I think we've got a couple different layers. Of course, we have the single individual, and that person would be 75 years of age or older, so a little bit frail, certainly needs some assistance with their activities of daily living, whether it's mobility or transferring, the basics, toileting and feeding and, doing your housekeeping and laundry, that type of thing. We do have rooms for husbands and wives, sisters, brothers, army buddies, people that want to live together. We have that available to them. And then in our alternative care license, what I would love to do is be able to serve the disabled community along with their parents. So as the disabled child ages along with their parent, we can still keep them together under one roof.
That's really cool. That is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that might be missing. I don't know. I've never looked into it, but I know some people in that situation, and I feel like that might be a hole right now in the market that you're filling.
Well, we hope to. Again, it's going to come down to the technical aspects of functional licensing. All those components work, but that's who we're really looking after to try to give the care to.
That's
okay,
awesome.
And so it's private pay, and you also have some Medicaid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
16 Medicaid beds and 14 private pay.
Okay, so our audience out there, if you know someone who's been looking for a Medicaid facility, Open Arms is getting ready to open, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So please check it out. And for those of you who are looking for something a little more affordable as well. And so let's talk, Peter, where is it located specifically in Denver, and when are you opening?
Yeah, so it's in Northeast Denver, the far Northeast Denver area. So it's 5 to 8 miles from Denver International Airport. It's about 2 miles north of Anschutz Medical Campus. And we're on the southeast corner of Andrews Drive and Peoria in the Montmello neighborhood.
Wonderful. And when will you be opening?
We expect to open up within the next week or two after September 8th.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Wow, soon.
Yeah. You've been working on this, you said 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And I know Morgan Jenkins works with you, and she introduced me to the idea, I want to say 18 months ago, and I was really, really intrigued. So it's fun to see it come to fruition here. And I feel like this might be, have you seen any other communities that have done this, repurposed a school or a church or anything like this? Is this kind of a new road, new trail you're blazing?
I don't know about that. I think it's all geographical, when it comes down to it. I'm from New Jersey. I grew up on the East Coast and worked in Boston and outside of New York City and in Richmond before coming out here. So back east, the buildings are old and the land is not as vast as out here in Colorado. Right. So you tend to do a lot of repurpose and renovation back there. Out here in Colorado, it's been a real 20-year run of brand new construction.
Yeah.
As people absorb, vacant lands. So out here, I think it's a new concept, but I would say in the older cities, it's not a new concept.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. If you're, I'm a fan of Eddie Izzard. He's a comic, a British comedian who talks about how us Americans tend to just like rebuild because something's 20 years old. So let's tear it down and rebuild.
Yeah.
So tell us.
The superintendent we had on the construction jobs from Vermont. So he and I got along pretty well right away, and it was like, yeah, we can do this. This is not going to be too difficult.
Yeah, I have some friends on the East Coast who talk about having to move their winter closets, and because their closets are so small, and I'm like, I don't even understand that. You don't have giant walk-in closets everywhere. Yeah, we like new things, don't we? So tell us about the open house that's coming up.
Sure. We're doing a ribbon cutting ceremony this Thursday, September 3rd at 3 p.m.
3. I got it wrong. My mistake.
We're going to fix that right now. September 3rd at 3 p.m.
At 3 p.m. I think that's Thursday, right? Yeah.
It is Thursday. Yep. Yeah.
And that's the thing. We're going to have, the ceremonial, take the scissors and cut the ribbon.
That's exciting.
There'll be some food and beverages, and there'll be some applications if you want to sign up for either employment or as a resident. We'll just take you on a tour. You'll see the church, and the sanctuary space is fantastic. We'll show you the multi-purpose areas and the little ice cream pub we have.
Wait, what? Ice cream?
Yeah. So it's we built an ice cream pub to serve as the interface between generations. So the church and the assisted living can meet together around the ice cream pub, and then right outside there we have raised garden beds where we're growing fruits and vegetables right now.
Oh my goodness,
wow, that's cool.
So fabulous!
Really cool.
What a great idea too to bring the generations together through something like that, where that's just the soda bar was a thing back in the day, and who doesn't love their ice cream cone? I will be there.
But when I was growing up, my grandfather lived in upstate New York, and he had a bakery. So when I would get into trouble as a kid, my mother would send me up to work in the bakery. And those were some of the best memories I had, was working with my grandfather, making cinnamon buns and donuts and breads, and bringing them to town and delivering the food. So it really is, food is a
connector.
Everybody can kind of get around and bring their own cultures and customs. And modify the same things. So hopefully, our food program, which comes from the outside, really can help. We have what I call an orchard, but we have fruit trees so that the residents can make their peach cobbler or their apple pies, and they can get the apples right here, make the pies, here in the kitchens, and then sell them to church folks on Sundays after church. So it really gives the residents a reason to continue their baking, their activities, and integrate with the church folks.
And what I love the most about this, though, which is one thing that I think in some of our current design of aging, living, is it's a segregation, right? It's a lot of people that were of the same group we're putting together, 100, 150, right? But what I love about what you're doing here is it's this intergenerational, inter-community. We're not saying, hey, you're older, you need to go live away from us. We want you to include and be interconnected, which is, I think, the most important way to make sure someone has purpose, someone has a service mind, someone has a desire to be a part of the community. And I can't thank you enough, because that, I believe, is a big piece we're missing in some of our current long-term care environments, is this
Francis,
that we have. So I applaud you. I mean, sincerely, I think it is phenomenal, because it's this ability to truly connect generations and not isolate.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. This is live. This is what happens. Our phones ring all the time.
Especially when you're finishing up a construction of a project, everybody's like,
they probably need to.
but Francis, you're right. My dad lives in memory care, and I think the more that comes out of the community into a community, really makes everybody happy and gets rid of the isolation aspect. It gives people meaning of living again. And folks, they've got stories. We've got a guy here in the church who's 80 years old, and he just captivates everybody when he starts telling his story about the 1960s and 50s and so on. So, people have stories they want to tell. And how do we want to pull that together? Well, as a kid that would go up to my grandfather's house when my mother would be like, you got to go do something. And there's stories that started to teach me, oh, okay, it's not all about me, it's about them. And how do you bring that to your day-to-day life? So yeah, there's stories to tell here.
It's so wonderful what you're doing. And just to be clear for our audience, so if you have someone looking for a Medicaid community or someone who is looking for more affordable senior living, this is a great place to go check out on September 3rd at 3 o'clock for the open house. There is an ice cream pub of all things, so definitely go check it out. And Peter, you mentioned early on that kind of the ideal audience is 75 and older. Is that a requirement? Do they need to be that? Okay, so do you have an age requirement?
I believe our minimum is 65.
Okay.
But for us, it's really 70 and up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is wonderful. And it looks like a stunning facility. And you mentioned that half the landscape is done right now, if not more. So really excited to go see it. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to reach out to you or learn more about Open Arms, where can they go?
I would say just go to the Open Arms Assisted Living website, www.openarmsmontbello.org. You could probably get my information from that website, but that's our direct website, or www.urbitecture.com, and you can find out more about the company.
Excellent. And for you listeners, if you can't find that information for whatever reason, feel free to reach out to us and we'll connect you to Peter. And Peter, thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Yes, thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Francis.
Awesome project, and I'm pretty confident you're not going to have any issues with residents wanting to live there. I think you're going to have a wait list for a long time, given what the creativity and I think the adaptability, ingenuity that has been put into the building. So I give you a ton of credit. This is a very cool project to see.
Well, when you guys want to come by for a tour, just let me know.
Will do. We definitely will.
And all right. Thanks so much, Peter. Have a great day.
And real quick before we go, I want to say join us Friday as we are going to be talking with the Greenhouse Project. So you've got to check in, stay tuned to see who our guest is, and also learn more about the Greenhouse Project. So until then, we hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy the weather wherever you are. And we appreciate you for tuning in, and we will see everybody Friday.